I'd been living in the Bronx for almost a year when it happened, long enough to know the rhythm of the neighborhood, but not so long that I'd stopped noticing the details. The little grocery with the red awning on the corner, the old man who gathered outside the bodega every morning to complain about the Yankees and the rent, the sirens that wailed in the distance every night, so routine they almost felt like part of the city's heartbeat. My apartment was small, a one-bedroom on the second floor of an old brick building that always smelled faintly of cooking oil and laundry detergent. The kind of place where you could hear your neighbors argue, laugh, and live through the thin walls. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I worked as a freelance designer, mostly from home, which meant my days blurred together sometimes. Sundays were different, though. They had a quiet to them. Even New York seemed to take a breath on Sundays. That morning, the sun was still low, spreading thin gold light across the buildings. I slipped on my hoodie, grabbed a trash bag from the kitchen, and headed downstairs. The garbage bins were lined up at the end of the street near the corner where the delivery trucks usually parked. I remember thinking how still everything felt. No traffic, no voices, just the faint hum of the city waking up. And then I saw her. At first, I thought it was just movement, a shadow near the bins. But then I caught sight of her. A small gray and white cat perched on top of a pile of trash bags. She was thin, her fur patchy and dirty, her ribs faintly visible. She was nibbling at what looked like an old piece of bread, dry and stale. Something about the way she ate, quick, nervous, like she expected someone to take it from her, hit me in the chest. She wasn't scavenging out of habit. She was surviving. I froze for a second, just watching. It wasn't unusual to see stray cats around the city, but something about her, maybe the way she tilted her head as she ate or the smallness of her frame against the mess of plastic bags, made it impossible to look away. Then, out of nowhere, a man's voice cut through the silence. "Get out of here, damn cat." I turned. It was Mr. Donovan, one of the older guys from down the block. He was in his 60s, stocky, with a red face and thinning hair. He always seemed to be angry at something. The weather, the mailman, the noise. He was standing by his stoop, holding a metal bucket. Before I could say anything, he flung the contents, cold water, toward the bins. The cat let out a sharp, terrified meow, leaping down and scrambling a few feet before stopping, soaked and shivering. "What the hell are you doing?" I called out before I even thought about it. He looked at me like I had interrupted his morning ritual. "She's a damn nuisance, always digging in the trash, making a mess. You want rats? 'Cause that's how you get rats." "She's just hungry," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "She's not hurting anyone." "She's dirty," he snapped. "Diseased. Shouldn't even be around here." I took a breath. I'd learned that in New York, arguing rarely solved anything, but I couldn't just walk away either. "Look, she doesn't have a home. Maybe just let her be, yeah? She's not the problem." He muttered something under his breath and turned away, slamming his door. When I turned back, the cat was gone. My heart sank. I walked a few steps toward the bins, scanning the alley. Then I spotted her again, crouched behind a trash can, watching me with wide, wary eyes. Her body was tense, ready to bolt at any sudden movement. "It's okay," I said, softly, crouching down. "Hey, it's okay." She didn't believe me. Her ears were flattened, and her tail twitched nervously. I could see a small cut above her eye, crusted over, and her paws looked raw. I didn't have food with me, nothing to offer but the sound of my voice. "You've had a rough go, huh?" I murmured. "Let's see what we can do about that." Slowly, I grabbed an empty cardboard box from near the recycling bins and set it down in front of me. She flinched, but didn't run. I nudged it closer, inch by inch. Then, with a tiny sigh, she took one hesitant step forward. I stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. When she was close enough, I gently lifted the edge of the box, guiding her inside. She didn't fight, just trembled, too weak or too scared to resist. As I carried the box back toward my building, I could feel her shifting inside, her claws scraping lightly against the cardboard. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the sudden weight of responsibility. I didn't know what I was doing, only that I couldn't leave her there. I carried the box back up the stairs to my apartment, careful not to jostle it too much. Inside, I could hear her breathing, fast, shallow, each movement stiff with fear. I set the box down in the kitchen and crouched beside it, trying to peek through the small gap at the top. She was huddled into a corner, her eyes wide and glassy. Her fur clung in wet clumps from the water Mr. Donovan had thrown. For a moment, she didn't move at all, just watched me like a creature who had learned that the world rarely meant kindness. "It's okay," I whispered, though I knew my voice meant nothing to her yet. I found an old towel, warmed it a little with the hairdryer, and set it near the box. She sniffed the air cautiously but didn't move toward it. That was okay. I knew trust didn't come easy, not to people, and definitely not to a cat who'd been kicked around by life. I called the nearest veterinary clinic I could find open on a Sunday. "I think I've found a stray cat that's hurt," I said. "She's shaking, she's got a cut on her face, and she looks bad." The receptionist's tone softened. "Can you bring her in right away?" "I'll be there in 15. The clinic was about 10 blocks away, near a small park where I sometimes went to clear my head. I carried the box like it was made of glass, the rain starting to mist as I walked. I could feel her weight shifting inside, small, uncertain movements, like she was testing whether the world inside the box was any safer than the one outside. When I stepped through the glass door of the clinic, the smell of antiseptic and wet fur hit me. Behind the counter, a young woman in scrubs looked up and smiled gently. "You must be the one who called about the stray." "Yeah," I said, setting the box down. "She's in here. She got soaked earlier, and I think she's injured." She crouched beside the box, peeking in slowly. "Oh, sweetheart, you've been through it, huh?" The cat hissed softly, pressing herself into the corner. "She's scared," I said. "Of course she is," she replied kindly. "Probably been on her own for a while." A vet, middle-aged, calm, with the kind of eyes that had seen every possible shape of suffering, joined us. "Let's take a look," he said, lifting the box gently onto a stainless steel table. He opened it carefully, speaking in a low voice that somehow filled the room with calm. "Easy there, girl. No one's gonna hurt you." She didn't believe him either, not yet. She tried to back away, claws scraping metal, but the nurse held her gently with a towel. I stood to the side, heart thudding, feeling useless. Watching her tremble under the harsh fluorescent light broke something open in me. The vet examined her for several minutes, murmuring observations to the nurse. "She's underweight, about 2 years old, maybe less. Multiple small infections. See that around her paw pads? And these cuts are old. She's been outdoors for a long time." He sighed, then looked at me. "She's lucky you found her today. Another week or two and she might not have made it." I swallowed hard. "Can you help her?" He nodded. "We'll clean the wounds, start antibiotics, and get her hydrated. She'll need fluids through a drip for at least a day, maybe more. If she pulls through the next 48 hours, she'll be okay." "Do you think she has any owner?" I asked quietly. He shook his head. "No collar, no chip, just another forgotten soul trying to survive." The nurse's tone softened. "You can leave her here for treatment, but we'll need a contact number. If she doesn't have an owner, the clinic usually transfers recovered strays to the city shelter." The word shelter made my chest tighten. I'd seen shelters. I'd seen the cages, the noise, the fear in the animals' eyes. "Can I cover her treatment?" I asked. Maya looked up, surprised. "You do that?" "Yeah. She deserves that much." The vet smiled faintly. "You've got a good heart.
Most people just walk away. I stayed while they cleaned her wounds. She fought at first, weakly, but enough to show she still had some fire left. Then, as the fluid started to drip into her vein, her body eased a little. The tremors slowed, her breathing steadied. I leaned against the counter, watching. She looked so small under the light, a little ball of wet fur and stubborn life. "What will happen to her after she gets better?" I asked. "Well," Maya said softly, "that depends. If she recovers and no one claims her, she can go to the shelter or someone can adopt her." I didn't answer right away. I was still staring at her, this broken, trembling creature who'd somehow survived long enough to end up in my hands. "I'll take her," I said finally, "when she's ready." Maya's smile was gentle but knowing. "I thought you might say that." The vet nodded approvingly. "Then let's give her a name, shall we? Helps with her chart." I hesitated for a moment, then said quietly, "Simba." "Simba?" Maya repeated, tilting her head. "Like the lion?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, she's small now, but she's got the heart for it." They wrote it down. Patient name, Simba. I stayed a few more minutes, watching the slow rhythm of the IV drip, the rise and fall of her chest. Before I left, Maya handed me a small card. "Call tomorrow morning," she said. "We'll let you know how Simba is doing." I nodded, my throat tight. Outside, the rain had picked up again, soft but steady. I walked home through the wet streets, thinking about her, about how terrified she'd been, how fragile she still was. It's strange, the things that stay with you. Sometimes it's not the grand moments or the big choices. Sometimes it's the sound of a frightened meow on a quiet Sunday morning, and the way your life quietly shifts around it.
When I called the clinic the next morning, Maya answered. "She's still here with us," she said, her voice warm. "She's doing better, responding to fluids, and the fever's gone down. Still weak, but that's normal." I felt my shoulders loosen, like I'd been holding my breath since yesterday. "Can I come see her?" "Sure," she said. "Maybe this afternoon. She'll rest better if she knows someone's waiting." I smiled at that, the idea that she might know someone cared. By the time I got there, the rain had cleared. The air felt cleaner, like the city had rinsed itself overnight. I bought a small carrier on the way, a cheap plastic one from the pet shop with a soft blanket inside. I didn't know how she'd react to me. Maybe she'd still hiss or claw. Maybe she'd ignore me completely, but I wanted her to have something gentle waiting. When I arrived, Maya led me to a small recovery room behind the clinic. The smell of disinfectant lingered, but it was softened by the faint hum of machines and the quiet rustle of cages. "She's in here," Maya said, stopping in front of one. And there she was, Simba, curled into a small, neat ball on a clean towel. Her fur had been brushed, and the wound above her eye was now just a small pink scar. A little bandage wrapped her front paw where the IV had been. She lifted her head when she saw me. Her eyes, greenish gray and still sharp, locked on mine. Not trust, not yet, but something like recognition. "Hey," I whispered, "guess who's back?" Maya opened the cage door slowly. "She's been calmer today. Still skittish, but that's normal. She'll need antibiotics for a week or two and a quiet place to rest." I nodded, crouching closer. Simba blinked slowly, then looked away. I knew that move, half fear, half pride, like she refused to let me see how vulnerable she really felt. When I reached out my hand, she stiffened, but I didn't move it closer. I just let it rest near her. After a few seconds, she leaned forward, sniffed my fingers, and then pulled back again. It wasn't much, but it was something. "She remembers you," Maya said with a small smile. "Cats don't forget who saves them, even if they pretend they do." The walk home with Simba was strangely quiet. The city buzzed around us, buses groaning, car horns blaring, but inside that little carrier, everything felt contained. I kept glancing through the small vents to make sure she was breathing. She sat curled up, alert, her ears flicking at every noise. When we reached my building, I took her upstairs slowly, aware that every sound,
the stairs creaking, the echo of footsteps, might remind her of danger. Inside my apartment, I placed the carrier in the corner of the living room and opened the door. "Welcome home," I said softly. She didn't move. For a long time, she just sat inside, eyes darting around the room. "It's okay," I said again. "Take your time." I'd already set up a small space for her, an old cardboard box lined with towels, a dish of water, and a plate with some wet food. I sat across from her, pretending to scroll on my phone, giving her the illusion that I wasn't watching. After about 20 minutes, she took one cautious step out. Her paws made no sound on the wooden floor. She moved low and slow, sniffing everything like an investigator: the leg of the table, the corner of the rug, the radiator that hissed occasionally. When she reached the food, she hesitated, then hunger won. She ate quickly, eyes flicking up every few bites to make sure I wasn't moving. It took an hour before she climbed into the box and settled down. Her body stayed tense, but her eyes began to droop. That night, I slept on the couch, not because I had to, but because I wanted her to know someone was there. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the faint sound of movement. She was sitting a few feet away, staring at me. For a moment, we just looked at each other, two strangers in the quiet glow of the city lights leaking through the blinds. Then, without a sound, she turned and went back to her corner. It felt like progress. The days that followed were a slow ritual of patience. She hid most of the time at first, under the bed, behind the couch, inside the laundry basket. I learned to move slowly, to speak softly. Every morning, I'd refill her food and water, leaving a few treats near her hiding spot. Sometimes she'd eat them right away. Sometimes they'd sit untouched for hours. I stopped trying to touch her. I just let her exist beside me, in her own quiet world. Then, one evening, I came home from the store to find her sitting by the window. The light from the setting sun made her fur glow in a way that almost didn't seem real. "Hey, Simba," I said softly. She didn't run. That was the first time she stayed when I spoke, the first time she didn't see me as a threat. A few days later, I was working at my desk when I felt something brush against my leg. I froze. It was her, sniffing my jeans, tail twitching. I didn't move or speak. I just let her be. Then she rubbed her head lightly against my calf before darting away. It was like the city itself had paused to let that moment happen. From then on, she started spending more time out in the open. She'd sit on the windowsill during the day, watching pigeons on the fire escape, or curl up near my chair while I worked. One morning, as I was pouring coffee, she jumped onto the counter, something she had never done before, and looked at me like she was daring me to protest. "All right," I said, half laughing. "You win." Her ears twitched, and for the first time I heard a soft, almost uncertain purr. It was the smallest sound, but it filled the room. That night, as she slept curled on a blanket near the couch, I realized how quiet the apartment used to be, how still my life had been before her. Rescue stories always make it sound like the human is the savior, but sitting there, watching her breathe softly, I knew that wasn't true. I hadn't just saved her. We were saving each other, one quiet day at a time.
It's strange how quiet trust can be. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with fanfare or music swelling in the background like in movies. It just shows up one day, quietly, without warning. And you only notice it because something that used to feel impossible suddenly feels natural. With Simba, that shift happened in the smallest ways. One morning, as I poured food into her bowl, she didn't flinch when I walked past. Later that week, she began following me from room to room, her little paws padding behind me on the hardwood. And then, one evening, while I was reading, she climbed onto the couch beside me and curled up. Not on my lap, not yet, but close enough that I could feel her warmth. I remember sitting perfectly still, afraid that if I moved, I'd break the moment. When she finally started to purr, I felt something loosen inside me, something I hadn't realized had been tight for years. Over the next few weeks, life found a new rhythm. Simba woke me up every morning at 6,
usually by batting at my toes or meowing impatiently from the floor. I'd make coffee, she'd watch the steam rise from the mug like it was magic, and then she'd settle on the windowsill while I worked. She was still cautious with strangers. Any loud noise or sudden movement would send her running under the bed, but around me, she had started to relax. Sometimes, when I came home from errands, I'd find her waiting by the door. She'd stretch, blink slowly, and then walk away as if pretending she hadn't been waiting at all. It was such a cat thing to do that I couldn't help but laugh. The neighborhood, though, wasn't as quick to change. One afternoon, a group of kids were playing near the stoop when Simba slipped out the open door and wandered onto the sidewalk. I froze, worried she might panic, but instead she just sat down, tail curled neatly around her body, watching the world. A few of the kids pointed at her. "Hey, it's that cat from the trash," one of them said. I walked over. "Her name's Simba," I said. "She's not living on the street anymore." A little girl crouched down, her eyes wide. "Can I pet her?" "Slowly," I said, nodding. Simba tensed at first, but when the girl extended her hand gently, Simba sniffed her fingers and then allowed the touch. The girl's face lit up like Christmas morning. "See?" I said softly. "She just needed someone to be kind." Later, as I carried Simba back upstairs, I saw Mr. Donovan, the same man who'd thrown water at her, standing on his stoop, cigarette in hand. He gave me a look I couldn't quite read. "That the same cat?" he asked. "Yeah, her name's Simba." He grunted. "Didn't think she'd make it." "Me neither," I admitted. He took a drag from his cigarette, staring out at the street. "Guess I was wrong," he muttered finally. "She looks better." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. That night, I thought about how people change, or rather, how they can change when they're given a reason to. Maybe kindness spreads the same way fear does, quietly, from one person to the next, until it starts to shift the air around you. Simba, for her part, was changing too. She started to explore the apartment like it belonged to her, jumping on counters, knocking pens off my desk, curling up on clean laundry as if claiming it. And then one night, for the first time, she climbed onto the couch beside me and curled up. Not on my lap, not yet, but close enough that I could feel her warmth. I remember sitting perfectly still, afraid that if I moved, I'd break the moment. When she finally started to purr, I felt something loosen inside me, something I hadn't realized had been tight for years. A few days later, I saw Mr. Donovan again. He was carrying groceries, and when he saw me, he nodded towards the window where Simba sat watching the street. "She keeps the pigeons away now," he said, almost smiling. "Is that so?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Guess she's earning her keep." I smiled. "She's good at that." He shifted awkwardly. "You, feeding her, all right?" "Every day," I said. He nodded again, eyes softening just a little. "That's good." Then he turned and went inside. It struck me how small that exchange was, just a few sentences, but it felt like a peace treaty, not just between us, but between the world and that tiny, fragile creature who'd once been chased from it. By spring, Simba was unrecognizable from the trembling, half-starved stray I'd found in the trash. Her fur had filled in thick and shiny, her eyes brighter, her body strong. She chased strings, batted at bottle caps, and claimed every sunlit corner of the apartment as her kingdom. Sometimes I'd catch her sitting by the window at dawn, watching the street below, and I'd wonder if she remembered. The cold mornings, the hunger, the bucket of water. Maybe she did. But she didn't live there anymore. Neither did I, in a way. Because rescuing her hadn't just changed her life, it had changed mine. Softened the hard edges, quieted the noise.
She'd shown me something simple but profound, that kindness doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's just a hand held steady, a voice spoken softly, a small creature given a second chance.
By the time summer rolled around, Simba had claimed every inch of the apartment as her kingdom. The windowsill was her throne, the couch her fortress, and my lap, when she chose, her favorite resting place. She'd grown into herself, strong, sleek, curious. Sometimes I'd catch her chasing her reflection in the TV screen, pouncing and darting away as if the ghost cat inside it were her greatest rival. Other times she'd nap stretched out on her back, legs splayed in total, unapologetic peace. There were still moments when she flinched at thunder or the sound of the garbage truck rumbling down the street, but those moments passed faster now. She trusted the world a little more. She trusted me a little more. And in some quiet way, I'd learned to trust again too. I used to think that life in New York hardened people, made them indifferent. You walk past so much suffering here, so much need, that sometimes you train yourself not to feel too much. It's how you survive. But that morning I found Simba changed that for me. Every time she blinked at me in that slow, deliberate way cats do, their version of saying, "I'm safe here," it reminded me that softness isn't weakness, that empathy doesn't make you fragile, it makes you human. There were evenings when I'd come home from long days, tired and half lost in my thoughts, and she'd greet me at the door, tail flicking, purring loudly like she'd been waiting all day. I'd scoop her up, feel her heartbeat against my chest, and realize I wasn't as alone in the city as I thought. One Sunday morning, almost a year after I first found her, I saw Mr. Donovan sitting on his stoop again. Simba was perched on the window above us, tail swaying lazily in the summer breeze. "She's still around, huh?" he said, nodding toward her. "Yeah," I said. "Guess she decided this is home." He chuckled softly. "She looks happy, healthier than most folks around here." I smiled. "She earned it." He paused, then looked at me. "You did good, kid." It wasn't much, but it was enough. That afternoon, I took Simba to the little park a few blocks away. It wasn't much, just a patch of grass and a few benches, but she liked sitting in her carrier, watching pigeons flutter between the trees. As I sat beside her, I thought about everything that had led us here, the trash bins, the bucket of water, the fear in her eyes. How easily I could have walked past that day. How easily I could have not cared. But I did. And that one decision, small, impulsive, human, had changed 2 lives. That night back home, Simba curled up on my chest and fell asleep, her fur warm, her breathing slow and steady. Outside, the city pulsed and hummed, but inside, everything was still. I thought about how people talk about rescue stories like they're one-sided, one soul saving another. But the truth is, they're never that simple. Because when I picked her up out of those trash-stained streets, trembling and broken, I didn't realize she'd rescue me too. From loneliness, from indifference, from the quiet ache of not belonging. She'd taught me that love, real love, doesn't always arrive loud or obvious. Sometimes it sneaks in quietly in the shape of a frightened stray and teaches you how to be gentle again. Simba stirred in her sleep, pressing closer. I rested my hand on her back, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. And in that moment, in a small apartment on a noisy New York street, I understood something simple and beautiful. We were both, finally, home.